coping strategies. All right, so we're going to move into skill number 1 because skill number 1 is actually fairly short. As I mentioned previously, it's all about gathering information and doing a little bit of an inventory of what are your most pressing needs right now. So the skill is about gathering and sorting of the information. This is the first step in any of our treatment programs at Lynwood Charlton Centre. It's commonly a step that you will see anywhere, any human service is gathering information, sharing of information. So we're really encouraging you guys to take this first step on your own. The idea is determine, yes. The idea of this skill is determine the level of distress and understand what is your most pressing need right now. Obviously, safety is going to come before maybe some school issues. Safety always has to be a priority. So that's why it's really important to get your thoughts down on paper so you already know what skills you're looking for. Okay, so the rationale. We may be really overwhelmed right now with so many things going on at once. So sitting down, like I said, with a pencil and paper, making a note of what is going on for you right now really might begin to help you sort through it. In a post-disaster period, we often deal with ongoing stress. The stress just continues. And if we're not processing it and dealing with it and working through it, it often just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you might need assistance with immediate or long-term medical or mental health conditions. So if you have a medical condition or a previous mental health condition, and you were already struggling to maintain just day-to-day living, adding stress and trauma and disaster on top of that really can be very difficult. You may be faced with a range of hardships and adversities. You know, maybe I know a lot of people are struggling even to pay their rent. They're not working. Kids are not in school. So there's a lot of examples of financial hardships and things that are very challenging. Safety concerns, always number one. That might end up being something you need to manage right now. You might be experiencing difficulty in your interpersonal relationships because we're so separated from each other. You might even find it hard to be getting on the phone or getting back out into the community. And gathering information is the first step in assisting and identifying where to begin. Where does your action plan start? Okay, so there's 3 easy steps to information and prioritization. Step 1 is identify the current needs and current concerns, or current needs and concerns, and we just talked about that. Really, there's no wrong way to do this. If you want to make a list and just brainstorm, and then you'll start to see the priority kind of starts to come to the surface. Step number 2, prioritize areas to address. Like I said, once you make a list, you'll start to see which ones are more pressing to you. It's when they're stuck in your head and you can't organize them, it gets really overwhelming. So please, I can't stress enough, take the time to actually start writing some of these things down. It will only help you in the future as well with other services. And then step number 3 is make an action plan, which basically is using the skills that you're going to learn throughout this series. You decide which skill is going to fit which current need and concern, and you try and practice. So here's an example of one of the handouts that the Skills for Psychological Recovery program offers you. And again, I'll just remind you, there is a link to those resources. And I want to just highlight a few areas here. Where's my highlighter? There it is. Okay, so this is the idea of writing a list, and it doesn't need to be in this format, in this flowchart format. But over here is a list of all of the concerns. So this person has been able to sit and brainstorm and write down what's going on right now. So here's an example: having a difficult problem that I need to solve. So hard time making decisions. Well, that could mean that I might get something out of the problem solving skill. So maybe that's the best webinar to really pay attention to. If that's my most pressing problem right now that I need to work on, that's highlighter is kind of weird. That's okay. We know it says problem solving. Some of the other skills that might be able to help the problem, depending on when we start to narrow the problem down, are using the healthy social connections skill and the helpful thinking skill. So there's more than one skill for each concern. So the next one they've highlighted is having intense or repeatedly upsetting reactions to things that happen, something that's really, really common right now. People are having a hard time managing their reactions. So of course, we know that the skill is under managing reactions. So we're going to go into that skill and we're going to build and get really good at it. So the list goes on. I'm not going to go through all of them, but that's the ideas that you pick and choose and you kind of customize depending on what skills you think you could use right now. Really, really kind of short skill. And it concludes our first webinar. The SPR is a program that assists survivors in reducing post-disaster distress and moving forward with your lives. The SPR uses handouts and worksheets to aid in the teaching of these skills. And while survivors can use them on their own, the SPR handouts are helpful when used in meetings. If you're doing all of this work independently and you do end up utilizing services in the future, these are skills that can be built upon. These are documents or handouts that you can keep, and this will only help you build upon these skills. So please join us for the next webinar, which is skill number 2. And again, it's a series of reviewing the 6 skills of the skills of psychological recovery. And thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again.